Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable our lecturer and all beloved our friends. Here is our project entitled about how to be a good teacher. And this project is created by Kurniawati, Fatmi Febryanti, and yuyun.regita Cahyani. So guys, without any further ado, let's move to the topic. First, what makes a good teacher? If we are talking about good teacher, for the first we have to know what the meaning of the teacher. Teachers are educators and teachers in early childhood education to school or formal education, basic education and secondary education. Such teachers must have some kind of formal qualification. In a broader definition, anyone who teaches something new can also be considered as a teacher. Being a good teacher and loved by students is not difficult, right? Once I witnessed several students calling the teacher. The students seemed very enthusiastic about asking about several assignments that had not yet been resolved. Then, without feeling reluctant, they kept casually and some even confided. The teacher also responded with good responses, like chatting with peers. It's a side that I didn't experience when I was a student. As a student, avoiding teachers when meeting outside of school was my choice. The reasons are not clear. There's a test that cannot be explained. Actually, not all teachers, just a large part. And being a parent is not easy, especially parents for children who are not our flesh and blood. Defining the various characters from the diverse family backgrounds is a challenge in itself, regardless of how to work as a teachers. The mindset of teaching in the old authoritarian way, relying on teacher as the only source of knowledge, lecturing continuously without giving students the opportunity to actively make research and compute their own research results. These things should have shifted according to the times. Being friends and discussing points further encourage students to be creative and develop their talents and knowledge. Given the life challenges faced by students also continue to develop, we have to build emotional closeness to students if we want the knowledge we convey to be clearly established by students. Ladies and gentlemen, I will give you some tips how to be a good teacher and loved by students if you want. First, mastering the subject matter that is being held. How will knowledge be conveyed if we have not mastered that knowledge first? It is true that we are not the only source of student learning. They can learn from books, the internet, or other relevant sources. But every time they ask, we should go back and forth to look at the book. It feels like the dignity of the teacher can fall in front of the student. Second, how will they evaluate the teacher? The way of teaching is always different. This is very important to make students not bored. Do it a different way every time you enter class. If you have not found a way or have not been able to do the right technique, at least once a week take all of our students out. Adjust to the condition of the school we teach. We can also take advantage of the potential that exists around the school. We can also go through camps as a learning medium so that students feel relaxed. Third, check student work regularly. We often forget to check our assignment or do we are not checking them on purpose. In fact, not checking the assignment we give means underestimating students. It is not good for our authority in front of students. Always check every assignment we give students. Don't procrastinate it, even if the work is cycling. Appreciate that effort. Second material is about how should teachers talk to students. Class management, the ability to control and inspire a class, is one of the fundamental skills of teaching. Teachers find it much easier if their students believe that they are genuinely interested in them and available for them. In a book of research called Making Sense of Teaching, the authors Sally Blower and Donald selected a group of teachers chosen by their pupils. They wanted to find out how these good teachers did their job, so they asked them about their teaching. This is what they found out. The most obvious common feature of the different teachers' accounts was that in response to our question about their teaching, they almost always talked about what their pupils were doing. A simple answer is to the question, what makes a good teacher? Therefore, is that good teachers care more about their student learning than they do about their own teaching. Next material is about how should teachers give instruction. This issue of how to talk to students becomes crucial when teachers are giving their student instruction. The best activity in the world is a waste of time if the students don't understand what is this they are supposed to do. There are two general rules for giving instruction. First, they must be kept as simple as possible, and they must be logical. Before giving instruction, therefore, teachers must ask themselves the following question: what is important information I am trying to convey? What must the student know if they are to complete this activity successfully? Which information do they need first? Which should come next? When teachers give instruction, it is important for them to check that the students have understood what they are being asked to do. This can be achieved either by asking the student to explain the activity after the teacher has given the instruction, or by getting someone to show the other people in the class how the exercise works. Next material is about who should talk in class. There is a continuing debate about the amount of time teachers should spend talking in class. Trainees' classes are sometimes criticized because there is too much TTT or teacher talking time and not enough STT, student talking time. Getting students to speak to use the language they are learning is a vital part of a teacher's job. Students are the people who need to practice, in other words, not the teacher. In general terms, therefore, a good teacher maximizes STT and minimizes TTT. Good talking teacher time may have beneficial qualities. However, if teachers know how to talk to students, if they know how to tune their language to the student's level, as we have discussed above, then the students get the chance to hear language which is certainly about their own productive level, but which they can more or less understand. Such comprehensible input, a term coined by the American methodologist Stephen Krashen, where students receive tune input very relaxed and unreactive, is an important feature in language acquisition. TTT works, or teacher talking time works. A classroom where the teacher's voice drones on and on day after day, where you hardly ever hear the student say anything, is not one that most teachers and students would approve of. However, TTT can be terribly overused. Conversely, a class where the teacher seems reluctant to speak is not very attractive either. The best lessons are ones where STT is maximized, but where at appropriate moments. During the lesson, the teacher is not afraid to summarize what is happening, tell a story, enter into discussion, etc. Good teachers use their common sense and experience to get the balance right. Next material, what are the best kinds of lessons? One of the greatest enemies of successful teaching is student boredom. This often caused by the deadening predictability of much classroom time. Students frequently know what is going to happen in class, and they know this because it will be the same as what happened in the last class, and a whole string of classes before that. Something has to be done to break the chain. In his monumental book, Breaking Rules, John Franzol suggests that both for teachers' sanity and students' continuing involvement, teachers need to violate their own behavior patterns. If a teacher normally teaches in casual clothes, he should turn up one day wearing a suit. If a teacher normally sits down, he should stand up. If he or she is normally noisy and energetic as a teacher, he or she should spend a class behaving calmly and slowly. Each time teachers break one of their own rules. In other words, they send a ripple through the class. That ripple is a mixture of surprise and curiosity, and it is a perfect starting point for student involvement. The need for surprise and variety within a 50-minute lesson is also overwhelming. If, for example, students spend all of their time writing sentences, they will probably get bored. But if in that 50 minutes there are a number of different tasks with a selection of different topics, the students are much more likely to remain interested. This can be seen most clearly with children at primary and secondary levels, but even adults need a varied diet to keep them stimulated. However, variety is not the same as anarchy. Despite what we have said, students tend to like a certain amount of predictability. They appreciate a safe structure which they can rely on, and too much chopping and changing, too much variety in a 15-minute lesson can stabilizing. Good teachers find a balance between predictable safety and expected variety. Ladies and gentlemen, there are some variety how to teach a lesson to students. For the first, using mind map. The first way that teachers can do so that students can understand the material more quickly is to use a mind map. According to the principles of brain management, the concept of mind maps is said to be in accordance with the natural work of the brain. Mind maps can make both brains work simultaneously and will help understand concepts better. Mind maps will help students see the concept of the material as a whole more clearly, see the relationship between one chapter and another, make the material easier to understand with visual cues, and make learning more enjoyable. Second, maximalize in use technology. Adapt teaching methods with growing technology so that process of understanding material becomes easier and faster. Teachers can use the internet to be used as another source of material for students in learning a subject. In order not to get bored easily, change the text into an image or audio form. This method will make students discover new things that are more fun. Third, implement interactive methods. In addition to focusing on the subject matter provided, the teachers must also think about student development. It is possible that students have a great curiosity about something or about an issue that may be being discussed in a particular subject. For that, it is important to provide opportunities for them to ask questions about the lesson discussed. The teacher can start by telling a short story related to this lesson. Make students ask questions so that it becomes easier for them to understand how to solve questions in the lesson. The teachers can also create focus group and take turns starting discussion with the group. This will encourage students to be more active and think critically in understanding the topic. Fourth, prepare material in other formats, such as animation. When delivering lesson to students, the teacher should not spend time discussing things that are less important. Prepare the important point of the main subject matter in a more interesting form such as animation. Also try other ways to show lessons through PowerPoint slides, for example. Insert funny and moving animation or several slides. This will make students more enthusiastic about learning and better understand the material being taught because of the animation assistance. 5. Go around to answer student questions. Teaching is not just providing lesson material for students so they know and learn it. When teaching, the teacher must also pay attention to the student's condition. Don't just teach in front of the class until the bell rings, especially when you are teaching a topic that is quite important or complicated. Teachers should take the time to go around answering students' questions while they are studying independently or in groups. This method allows the teacher to give instruction personally and can specifically help students who are still confused with certain materials. The last material is about how important is it to follow a prearranged plan. It is one thing to be able to plan lessons, which will have variety and as we will look at in chapter 12, but being flexible when the class is actually taking place is another matter altogether. Once again, a balance has to be struck between teachers attempting to achieve what they set out to achieve on the one hand and responding to what students are saying or doing on the other. Suppose that the teacher has planned that the student should prepare a dialogue and then act it out, after which there is a reading text and some exercises for them to get through. The teacher has allowed 20 minutes for dialogue preparation and acting out. But when the students start working, teacher then discovers that they would like to spend at least half the lesson on just acting, of which they are finding helpful and enjoyable. At that moment, he or she has to decide whether to abandon the original plan and go along with the student, or whether it is better to press ahead regardless, right? Another scenario is also possible, like all the students are still working on the dialogue preparation except for two pairs who have already finished. The teacher then has to decide whether to tell them to wait for the others to catch up, or which might make them bored and resentful, or whether to stop the rest of the class to prevent this. Then the other students might end up feeling frustrated because why? Because they didn't have a chance to finish. There are other cases too. The tape recorder suddenly doesn't work. The teacher has forgotten to bring the material they were relying on, or the student look at the planned reading place and say, "Hey, we've done that before." Good teachers are flexible enough to cope with this situation because they are focusing on the student and what they need. They are able to read quickly to the unplanned event. Perhaps, in the case of the pairs who finish early, for example, they have a couple of usable tasks up their sleeves, which they can ask the pairs to do while they are waiting. Good teachers recognize that their plans are only prototypes and they may have to abandon some or all of them if things are going too fast or too slow. Good teachers are flexible. Well guys, finally that's all our material. I am as a dabber on this project. I wanna say sorry if there is wrong pronunciation because I'm just human being and we hope you can understand about our material. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.